CM Punk vs Seth Rollins. Long before CM Punk's epic return at Survivor Series 2023, which resulted in Seth Rollins losing his cool at ringside, the pair had faced off once before within the WWE. Rumours currently swirling, suggesting that Punk and Rollins might face off at WrestleMania 40. However, this match has in fact happened on an episode of Raw back on December 30th, 2013. During this time, Rollins was still a part of The Shield when the trio were running wild through WWE. The match itself was highly entertaining and athletic, with both stars working well together whilst displaying their movesets back and forth. Towards the end of the match, the Shield would try and interfere to assist Rollins, however this would soon backfire and Punk would quickly take advantage to hit a GTS and pick up the win in what could be a preview of things to come with Punk's recent return to the WWE. CM Punk vs Vince McMahon. It's no secret that these two haven't been the best of friends over time, so what better way than to settle it in the ring. This one-off matchup occurred on the October 8th, 2012 edition of Raw in a no DQ match. This was during CM Punk's WWE Championship reign, where he played heel. Over a year from his pipe bomb promo, the match itself was no technical masterpiece, but entertaining enough, with the pair talking trash to each other throughout. Punk would take the early advantage, all until McMahon managed to turn the tables, even diving across the announcer's table to take down Punk. Kendo sticks would soon follow, and as Punk tried to escape McMahon's assault, John Cena and Ryback would interfere, trying to attack Punk until he managed to flee through the crowd, ending this bizarre brawl in a no contest. CM Punk vs Roman Reigns. Another highly anticipated match rumoured to be scheduled after Punk's return is to face the Tribal Chief himself for the WWE Championship. Both men are two of the top names within the industry, and whilst this would be a fan favourite feud to witness, the pair have in fact faced off once before. They would do battle on a special old school edition of Monday Night Raw on the January 6, 2014 edition. The pair would have a pretty entertaining back and forth matchup, with the Shield in Roman's corner and the New Age Outlaws in Punk's corner. The duo hit some high impact moves throughout, but the finish saw interference from the Shield, giving enough time for Roman to hit Punk with a spear and pick up the win. You can be sure that if the pair were to face off again, it would be a war to remember. CM Punk vs Umaga strap match. In what would sadly turn out to be Umaga's last match within the WWE before his untimely passing, the Samoan Bulldozer and Straight Edge Saviour topped off their feud at Extreme Rules 2009 in a Samoan strap match, which was basically a normal strap match, but you had to touch all four corners to win the match. Umaga's strength was on display in this match, using his weight to throw Punk around. Both men tried to utilise the strap as well, and went back and forth teasing who could touch all four corners first. After taking a beating, Punk would manage to turn the momentum and finally hit Umaga with a GTS to hit the corner pads and pick up the win to blow off their feud. As mentioned before, Umaga was released from WWE shortly after this, right before his untimely passing, so make sure to check this match out in Umaga's honour. CM Punk vs Chavo Guerrero Gulf of Mexico match. During WWE's revival of the ECW brand, CM Punk was the key new star that Paul Heyman was looking to push and centered the show around. Punk would work his way up the ranks and would at one point be locked into a feud with Chavo Guerrero over the ECW Championship. One night on an episode of WWE's ECW, Punk and Chavo would face off in a Gulf of Mexico match, which is a match where you literally have to throw your opponent into the water of the Gulf of Mexico. A strange stipulation that WWE has used from time to time when visiting the area. Either way, the pair would brawl throughout the arena, eventually making their way outside, fighting across the road, and to the water's edge where Punk would nail Chavo Guerrero with a GTS, sending him flying into the Gulf of Mexico to win the match. A bizarre encounter, but a fun watch nonetheless. CM Punk vs Just Incredible. CM Punk has no doubt had a Hall of Fame career within the WWE, but it all started with his debut in WWE's version of ECW, when Punk would match up against ECW original Just Incredible. Not only that, but the event itself was held in New York's Hammerstein Ballroom, a home ground for ECW with a notoriously rabid fan base. As soon as Punk made his way through the curtain, the fans would welcome him with a hero's response. The match itself was fairly short, with some technical maneuvers, strikes and submission holds being traded. The finish would see Punk force Justin Credible to tap out to the Anaconda Vice. The crowd would erupt even more in joy and embraced Punk right from the beginning. This would turn out to be the genesis for Punk's legendary run within the WWE. CM Punk vs Dean Ambrose. After having faced the other two members of The Shield, we had to include the third. Punk and Ambrose actually faced off twice within the space of a few days, once on SmackDown and once on Raw. For this list, we will focus on their first match on SmackDown, as the match on Raw once again ended in interference after Reigns speared Punk. However, back to when Ambrose and Punk faced off on SmackDown, the match would be pretty competitive and physical throughout. The momentum swung back and forth, with Ambrose playing heel trying to sneak a win. However, Punk would outmaneuver Ambrose, hit a GTS and pick up the clean win. You can be sure Ambrose never forgot this, especially when he destroyed CM Punk during their feud in AEW for the world title. CM Punk vs Sheamus. These two never really crossed paths much during their careers and only faced off a couple of times, but this first encounter between the two actually took place on WWE's newly revived main event show back in October of 2012, in an exclusive champion vs champion match to help draw viewership to the show. Years later, Main Event has become a weekly jobbers show that most people have forgotten about, so this match in itself is a bit of a hidden gem. The pair got a good amount of time to wage war, going around 15 minutes in a physical back and forth match as you'd expect. The finish will see a heel CM Punk use an exposed turnbuckle to smash Sheamus's head off and roll him up for the win. The duo would face off again on Monday Night Raw days later in a lumberjack match, but this was plagued by interference where Punk would pick up the win again before being destroyed by Ryback. CM Punk vs Billy Gunn. Since we mentioned CM Punk's debut WWE match earlier on in this list, we had to list his final match on WWE Raw before the 2014 Royal Rumble event, where he stormed out of the company on that infamous night. However, before all of that unfolded, Punk would square off with Billy Gunn on the January 20th, 2014 episode of Raw, and whilst it was great to see Punk in the ring with a legend, Gunn was partly past his prime at this point. There was another caveat, as Gunn's tag team partner Road Dogg was positioned at the commentary table. Punk and Gunn went back and forth, but Punk had a foothold on the proceedings, and the straight edge saviour attacked Road Dogg on the outside and would go on to counter Gunn's Fameasser to execute the GTS for the win. CM Punk vs Jerry the King Lawler, Steel Cage match. During Punk's heel run as WWE Champion, he would cross paths with legendary wrestler and ring announcer Jerry the King Lawler, who had previously suffered a near-fatal heart attack on a live episode of WWE Raw. Punk and his manager Paul Heyman would go on to mock Lawler, and the pair would end up in a feud which saw them go from a battle of words to brawling backstage and around ringside. This would all come to a head on the August 27th, 2012 edition of Monday Night Raw inside a steel cage. The match was fairly short-lived, as the King was fairly limited in his moveset, although he did manage to bust Punk open, leaving him a bloody mess. Lawler would pick up some momentum and get some decent offense in, leaving Punk reeling before Punk would reverse Lawler, locking him into the Anaconda Vice for a submission victory. However, this wouldn't be enough, as Punk would mercilessly beat down the King whilst John Cena was trapped outside the cage. Punk would leave the arena to a chorus of boos and with the world title on his shoulder.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more wrestling content.